What is up, Buffs fans, and welcome to Buffs Hoops Weekly. I'm your host, Matt Spivak, starting this new podcast where I'm going to be previewing upcoming games for the CU men's basketball team. Also, going to be debriefing post games and just talking everything CU Buffs Hoops. So let's get started. The Colorado Buffaloes start their 2025-26 season with an exhibition game against the Grace College Lancers on Sunday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time at the CU Event Center. Now, if you watched Colorado at all last year, you know the team was not good at all. It was the team's worst record under current head coach Tad Boyle. He is entering his 16th season now. Last year, ranked last in the Big 12 with a record of 3-17 conference record and an overall record of 14-21. Both of those numbers not great, and Tad Boyle is really looking to change things around this year. The team looks very different than it did last year, bringing in 9 new faces to offset a lot of the players lost, and then returners. The key returners who had played significant minutes for the Buffs last season would be Bangot Dak, Elijah Malone, and Sebastian Rancic. All of those guys, the Buffs are going to really be leaning on um, in games for leadership and just for playmaking and shooting and all the stuff that it takes to be a good basketball squad. So another thing something to watch for this season, especially early on in this season, is Colorado's pace of play. Tad Boyle mentioned in practice and after the scrimmage that that's something they're really emphasizing, at least so far this season. In that scrimmage and in some practices, the coaching staff has been starting the shot clock right as the ball goes through the hoop instead of waiting for when it's rebounded like in the game it normally is, so that they can emphasize pushing the pace of play and forcing their team to get the ball inbounded quickly and get it up the floor quickly as well. Now let's look at the Grace College Lancers for a second. They have been really dominant at the NIAI level for the past 3 years. They've finished inside the final top 10 coaches poll in all 3 of those years. So, really, one of the best squads at that level. They went 29-6 last year, outscoring their opponents by an average of 13 points and out rebounding their opponents by an average of 6.5 rebounds. So, definitely just dominating a lot of their opponents. They're one of the better teams, and they are hardly in matchups where they're being outmatched, out physical. One thing I did notice about this squad though is they're definitely on the shorter side, aside from Seth Martin, who's 6'3", and Tyler Rash, who's 6'8", who's their tallest player. Every other roster member is listed between 6'5" and 6'7" height wise. That's good height for guards, maybe some forwards, but when you get into power forwards, centers, it's definitely going to be on the shorter side, considering the Buffs probably have 5 or 6 guys taller than 6'8" listed on their squad. They have a couple 7-footers. This game should really be won on the off the glass for the Buffs in this one. Now, Grace lost their best player, Ian Scott, from last year. He basically led their team in every statistical category in points, rebounds, minutes, steals, blocks. He was second on the team in assists. The only thing Ian Scott really didn't do well was shoot the 3 ball. And then the Lancers are returning 2 of their best 3 players. So they lost Ian Scott, but they're returning their other 2 best players from last season, who were the second and third highest scorers. That would be Gage Sefton, who scored 12.5 points per game, and Ian Rash, who scored 16.5 points per game for the Lancers. They're really going to be leaning on those guys to be leaders for this new squad. They are also on the younger side, just like the Buffs are, which I'm going to get into right now. So, similarities between the two teams, both really young squads. They both have 7 freshmen. So that's going to be something that may play into this game, seeing just different rotations, the coaches trying to gauge how their players play with each other, and using this game really as a guinea pig game to finalize rotations and all that stuff. Another similarity between the two teams is kind of a lack of leadership across the board. The Buffs have three upperclassmen, which would be Bangkok Dak, Elijah Malone, and new transfer UC Riverside transfer Barrington Hargress. So they're going to be leaning on those three guys for leadership and experience in collegiate basketball. And then Grace College has no seniors. They have three juniors, which are upperclassmen, which are Ian Rash, Seth Martin, and Gage Sefton. So, like I said, Grace is going to be leaning on those three guys. And then with the young squads, it just leaves a lot of uncertainty for these two teams in the beginning of the season. Those starting five rotations are still up for grabs, and even should be throughout the non-conference schedule of both of these teams. And the coaches should use these games to just evaluate what's going on the court, who's got the energy, the physicality, who can play at this level, who's maybe not ready yet. Since these squads are so young, that's what these coaches are going to need to do with this game. One of my key storylines for this game is that CU grad student Elijah Malone, before he transferred to Colorado last year, he played for Grace College for 4 years. He's one of the best players to ever go through that program. He is their all-time leader in field goal percentage with 65%, and their all-time leader in total blocks with 308. He's also ninth all-time on their scoring list and rebounding list. So he's definitely proven to be one of their best players. He also helped lead them to the number one ranking on the final coaches poll after the 2023-24 season. So he definitely has a lot of history and ties to that program. And at practice, he told me that he wouldn't trade his time in at Grace College for anything. He really loved playing there. He grew up in Indiana, really wanted to start his college basketball career in Indiana. And looking forward to this game, he says he thinks it's going to be weird to play against coaches that he hasn't played for or that he has played for and that he's really familiar with. It's going to be a new experience for him. Getting into my prediction for the game, I really think that the Colorado size is just going to prove too much for these Lancers. As I mentioned, they have 5, 6 guys listed above 6'8" on their roster. That's going to help them with shooting, with defense, with rebounding, basically all of the above. Basketball is a size game. Everybody knows that. So I'm looking at Bangkok Dak, 7-footer, Sebastian Ranchik, 6'11". Both of those guys should be starting, and I'm looking at them to be dominant on the glass and be able to getting off the shots that they want to get. And I think this is a good opportunity to play some of the freshmen as well. In my opinion, Alon Makayeli, he's 6'9". Fawaz Taco Ifoala, he's 7 foot. Leonardo Van Elswick, he's 7'1". Good idea to play these guys, get them in advantageous situations for them where they're taller, they may be stronger than these guys, helping them ease into that collegiate play. So I think Colorado should out rebound the Lancers by 10 or more, just based on that size that I keep harping on. And my score prediction for this one is going to be 84-68. Colorado Buffaloes winning. I think the first half going to be a little stagnant for both sides. Start a little bit slow. I don't think either squad will get out to more than a double-digit lead in the first half. But then as the game prevails and progresses, I think Colorado is just going to keep improving, and I think Colorado will eventually take a double-digit lead to win this game. That's all for this week's episode of Buffs Hoops Weekly. I'm your host, Matt Spivak, and thank you for tuning in.